Says we're live.
Are we live? Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode. Oh, the camera's up there. I'm looking down here, and the camera's up there. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Make sure you check out our website. The camera's up there.
Sorry, that just turned on.
Check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and X. Formerly Twitter.
Different place, and
we are in a different place, and it's giving me weird echoes, so the sound is not the same because we're not in our small, muffled room.
So we apologize.
Because in our normal studio, we have bookshelves on both sides that muffle.
Today we're in a different room.
We're in a big open room. We are at the Pixar. What is this place called?
I don't know.
We are at Pixar Place, the Pixar Place Hotel in Disneyland, California. Whoop whoop! Can I give a what?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on vacation. We are on Christmas vacation.
Yeah, and as you know, normally we do our show on Sundays. We didn't do a show last week. We did one yesterday. Can't get for it. So today's actually the show that should have been yesterday. Yesterday's show that should have been the one the week before. But today we get us all caught up. And I don't know if we'll do a show next week because there's nothing really coming out.
Yeah, there's nothing coming out next week. It all happens this week.
I'm all tangled up on I apologize. This couch has got my shirt all tangled up.
Okay, yeah, and the camera's up there.
I know what the cameras are.
I'm just
trying to talk like this the whole day. Hello, everyone. How are you down there?
I'm logging in.
Anyway.
I'm liking our show. All right. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Watch our Christmas special.
You like my video?
Thanks, man. Come watch our Christmas special.
Anyway.
I feel like we should be doing a dance or something because normally, a parade or a rocket thing.
My computer now. We don't need it.
Anyways, thank you everyone for watching, for joining us. I hope you're having a wonderful Feliz Navidad. All right. Oh, I have the movie already up on the screen.
Well,
I'm done.
It's okay. We'll just start then.
Let's talk about Killers of the
We don't have our normal technologies that we normally
so
use. So things all kind of discombobulated.
Oh my gosh, I'm done. Why didn't you tell me?
I don't know what's going on with this thing.
We don't know what we're doing.
I'm just a brute that shows up in this
All right.
thing.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about that. We'll talk about some movies. There you go.
We got a wide variety of stuff. Not a single Christmas movie in the bunch.
No, we don't need that.
Where's the thing at? I don't know where it's at.
Keep talking.
I'm opening this candy bar that the hotel gave us.
This is like, Merry Christmas. Have a candy bar. I guess that was their way of trying to make us happy.
And it's a candy bar you don't like. It's much like the food we got on the plane that was disgusting.
Oh my goodness. It was not
Somebody
good.
got a memo that said, what things does Bobby hate? And let's put all of that in one meal. Because they handed us, so we were bougie, we were in first class, so they gave us breakfast. And they're like, you want eggs or salmon?
Some people really enjoy a smoked salmon and a bagel cream cheese.
Anyway, I'm like, I guess eggs. I'm hoping for like scrambled eggs or something at least.
It was an egg frittata.
Which, first of all, I'm picky on my eggs. I like fried eggs. I like scrambled eggs. I like omelets. I just don't like a lot of crap in my eggs, and I would like them separate from everything else. Like, I like onions or cheese and whatever. Anyway, then it's got like sweet potatoes and tomatoes, and it's all mushed on this one gooey plate. I'm surprised you ate it because you don't like stuff touching it. It was all juicy.
I know, but I was trying to make it look
and then it
like
had mushrooms in it, and it was just
that was not good.
There were so many life problems in that one meal.
It was a lot of problems in that.
I didn't eat it.
So I ate what I could of just the egg of mine, and then I switched plates.
And she's like, here, switch it so it looks like you ate some of it. I'm like,
I was trying to make it
look
look
like I
like
didn't eat any of it.
Well, who knows? I was just trying to make it look good.
Anyway.
All right.
What's our first movie?
Killers of the Flower Moon, which we've had on the screen for a few minutes ago.
Oh, yeah.
Hello.
So this is the latest Martin Scorsese film. I have a weird taste.
What is it?
Huh?
What is it?
This candy bar? The first one is white chocolate. But white chocolate cranberry fizz.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but it tastes like some kind of weird fizz. Anyway.
Does it taste fizz?
I can't answer that question yet. This is the latest Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio team up. They've done a bunch of movies together. It came out. It's actually a Apple film.
Apple TV Plus.
But it went to the theaters first so it could get Oscar contention. It's going to be coming to Apple TV. It's on digital now. But it's based on a true story about the Indians that find oil. The Osage Nation. Hopefully I'm saying it right. that find oil, so it kind of elevates them from the savages that people classify them as. I'm not saying, I know they're not, but that's what everybody claimed. I treated them.
They suddenly had a lot of money.
Yeah, and then of course white man's greed comes into town.
It's like, we want that money.
It's got Robert De Niro, Jesse Plemons, Lily Gladstone. Is that her name?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
It was fantastic in that movie.
Love her.
So what did you think?
I really enjoyed this movie, man. I thought it was really good. And of course, it's one of those that made me very angry. It is based on a true story. This lady really did exist. What these things happened to her and her family really did happen. And you see kind of in the trailer that after the nation, the Osage people find oil on their lands, of course, suddenly people move in and mysterious deaths begin to happen. And it's interesting that all the people that were killed had ownership rights in the lands and the oil and all that. So I wonder who that's going to go to.
And there's never any investigations. They're always like,
correct.
There's this ongoing thing that's kind of annoying. It's like, so-and-so died. No investigation.
No investigation.
So-and-so died. No investigation. It's like,
they're killing these people.
and they're not even like natural deaths. They're like people found in the river with their head bludgeoned and
like no
somebody shot. And it's like, oh, obviously somebody's murdered them.
And then you find out through the story, suddenly there is an investigation. And it's really interesting how that develops and who it is that comes to investigate, because it's kind of the beginning of another thing, which is really important in history. So to me, I had no idea that's how that group began. And like this was one of their big investigations at the beginning and who was leading it. So it's actually really cool because it's a good, compelling story. It makes you angry and upset, but it's also history. So I was learning something, babe.
Learning?
What?
You've become learning.
And Leonardo DiCaprio was just, I don't even know how to explain his character, just dumb.
Yeah, he was kind of a simple.
He was simple.
Simple. He wasn't like special needs simple. No. He was just of the time and not super highly educated. So there's a lot of stuff he does that is horrible. But it makes you wonder on some levels how much he understood he did was wrong, how much he thought he was doing the right thing, but had good intentions, but he's still doing horrible, horrible things. And one of the things I kind of liked was her and him clearly loved each other.
Yeah.
There was a real love there.
Yeah.
In the movie anyway. I don't know the story, a lot of story. She really, really loved him and wanted to be able to forgive him and wanted to be able to, but she knew she couldn't because she can't be trusted at some point.
You couldn't trust
you give him all these chances and she knows he's being manipulated. But at some point you're like, you're just too stupid to not get manipulated. I can't be with you kind of thing.
Yeah. And she knows that he loves her, but she also knows she can't trust him to a certain point.
Yeah.
I mean,
like there's a moment where it's kind of when he finally starts doing the right thing, he kind of thinks, well, okay, they're going to be okay together again. And she just kind of pats him in the face. Is like kind of like, I love you, but no.
Because she gave him that one last chance, really, I feel like. But guys, this movie made me angry. It is long.
It's a long movie.
It's long. It's a talkie.
About 3 hours, I think, 3.5 hours.
It is a talkie. And I was glad, actually, that we watched it at home so we could, like, take a break, get a snack, go to the bathroom, come back refreshed. I think did we watch it in 2 days?
Oh, yeah, but that was only because you had to leave.
Yeah.
Not because we got tired or late. You had to actually go somewhere.
But I'm glad because I had time to really digest and process it because I don't know.
It's well done. It's very well acted. It is slow and long, but I don't think it was ever boring. I felt like
it just kept steadily moving.
Stayed engaging.
Engaged.
I think it keeps your interest, but there is a lot of things that just make you mad, or it should make you mad. If it doesn't make you mad, you have bigger issues.
Yeah, I agree.
And sadly, that movie is way too relevant still.
Yes. With
the way certain people are treated, and I'm not picking a side or whatever. I don't know. I want to say I saw, and I could be wrong. So comment if I'm wrong if you know about this. That I saw there was different people that some Native Americans were upset in the portrayal of this movie.
Oh.
And then some, I think, were okay with it. Like I want to say I read a thing about they felt like you're telling this story, but you're only telling it from this white man's perspective. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I get that, but I felt like they were showing the horrible natures of these people, not showing it like they were the stars. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree.
But I'm not the plight of those people, so I can also not fully understand what they're feeling from it. But the movie's, it's a fantastic movie. It deserves all the Oscar buzz I think it's getting. And Robert De Niro was fantastic in it. He's like,
he's the most horrible person in this movie.
He is, but he's such a likable guy, and it's easy
to see why people were manipulated by him.
Yeah, but he's so condescending and manipulative, and
it's like, yeah, these Osage.
He's like super. That is the scariest evil. The one that seems like somebody you like, because he seems to care about you, and he seems to be like, behind the scenes, behind that smile and the politeness and respect for your culture is this guy who's going to crush you.
Yeah, who wants to take everything you own.
Yeah.
So.
Fantastic movie.
It's a really good movie. It's just prepared. It is the long one, and it's a little bit of a talkie.
Yeah, and it is a downer, and there is some violence in it.
Yeah.
There's some visuals of some like dead body type stuff that's a little at times, but
I'm glad they did it.
Yeah, it's not any worse than any other horror film we've seen. It just comes off a little more realistic.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Killers of the Flower Moon. It'll be on Apple soon. I don't think we have an actual date yet, but it is on digital, and I think it's still in theaters too if you can find it. So I highly recommend you check it out.
There you go. Next.
Oh, yes.
Oh, controversy.
The next and final movie in the Zack Snyder verse of DC, which is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. For those 3 people that don't know the story,
I don't know. Tell me.
This whole universe of the DC universe started back with Man of Steel. Zack Snyder did Man of Steel, then it developed into Batman v Superman and Justice League. Then there's a controversy with Joss Whedon and him doing different Justice League versions, and we've had Wonder Woman, and we had Aquaman, and then we've had Flash, and we've had Black Adam, and we have all these things happening. And then, of course, it was announced that James Gunn was taking over the helm of the DC universe. So Blue Beetle was kind of the last that was technically part of the previous universe, but it was announced he was the first character of the new universe. So they apparently are going to still use him in some form. I hope he gets another movie. I thought his movie was fantastic. It didn't do well. Black Adam, they thought was going to be the relaunch of it, and it bombed. I like Black Adam. I'm not complaining about it. Anyway, so it's kind of hard going into these, like The Flash and Aquaman. There's already no stakes going into it, because no matter what ends with these movies, it doesn't really matter.
Well, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But in a way, I think I'm okay with that, because, with all the others, it's like you had to keep up with like 25 movies in continuity to understand the story. I think this is kind of a relief in a way. As long as you know who Aquaman is and you kind of know what happened in the first one,
but I also think this one did a good job of ending things.
Yeah.
It ended the arcs. It feels like a finite story ending to the character that could have kept going the way it is.
You just assume everything keeps going in the world.
But it could also just be it. I was always against Jason Momoa being cast as Aquaman because I've always wanted him to play Lobo. He wants to play Lobo. He even thought he was auditioning for Lobo.
He didn't know what he was auditioning.
And I still think he will play Lobo.
Is it in the same universe? Or?
Yeah, DC. But it's going to be because it'll be the new version of the DC universe. He won't be Aquaman anymore. And somebody recently said he made some statements that made people think he was already being cast by James Gunn as Lobo. They've since kind of turned around, but we still don't know, obviously, if that's real or not. But then somebody from DC said that he will always be part of the DC universe, Jason Momoa. So he's a huge, and he looks like, even without makeup, he looks like Lobo. So, and he has the same attitude of Lobo, craziness.
Yeah.
Anyway, more on Aquaman.
Aquaman, too.
I love the first Aquaman movie, but I've always been an Aquaman fan.
Yes, you have.
I liked him back when he just rode his seahorse on the Super Friends.
Yes. And when they would make fun of him.
Yeah, I never understood. I'd play Aquaman when I was a kid. I'd get under the pool and I'd get in the water and I'd go whoa, 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 underwater. It doesn't sound near as fancy underwater as it does out of the water. You know what I mean? When you're trying to make the sound, but fish would never come. I don't know. Anyway, so our new entry, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, kind of jumps off. It's really a sequel directly more to the first film. You don't have to see any of the other DC movies. so you can actually watch these two movies by themselves. James Wan did a good job.
That's what I'm saying. It's easy. You just watch the first one, second one, done. Popcorn.
Yeah, even though he's in those other movies, you don't need to know those stories for this stuff to work.
No.
And there was always that gray area of where it took place in the first one.
Yes.
Between Justice League and the other ones. But anyway, so what did you think of the new one? Or actually, tell them the story. What's the story of the new movie?
Following the events of part 1, where he and his brother have to fight for the throne, Aquaman ascends and his brother is cast away in prison. Part 2 finds Aquaman in danger from a new evil combined with, what's his name? The Black Manta. Mm-hmm. Black Manta's back. He's angry. He's tapped into some other ancient power. And Aquaman needs his brother to be able to defeat him. Will they be able to work together? Put together the history of the past? I don't know. You have to watch the movie.
What is happening with your
voice?
That's
basically what happened. I was telling everyone it was a Saturday morning cartoon.
I love Black Manta. I always thought that Black Manta used to be on the Super Friends. He was part of the Society of Evil on the Super Friends.
Oh.
With Lex Luthor and that group.
Yes.
So I always thought he looked stupid when I was a kid, but then I was like, he's kind of cool. He had a big old head.
And so I was like, who's this guy?
Yeah, he always had that big dome helmet. But I was a little disappointed with their use of him in the first film.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got a sneeze coming.
Bless you. Peace with you.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, people.
I've been real sneezy too. I think it's the weather coming from changing weather. We are very susceptible. One time when we went on our honeymoon, we went to Arizona, and we were in the mountains.
And then we drove to Vegas.
So clear sky.
And we were sick.
We were so sick because we're used to the smog of the city.
It was funny because we flew out of Dallas into Arizona. It was clean air. We took a few deep breaths, and next thing you know, we're having allergy attacks and
yes, I was
coughing.
So congested.
We drove to Vegas. We literally drove into Vegas. We felt fine.
Felt good again.
Drove right back into smog, and everything was great again. Anyway,
okay.
No, I was always a fan of Black Manta, and I thought with the first film, they did him really badass, but he was sidelined as kind of a assassin secondary character that wasn't as important because the whole thing was about Atlanta stuff, which is fine. But I was just disappointed because I wanted more Black Manta. This movie gives us all Black Manta.
Yeah.
My only issue, though, is at the end of the movie, he ends up kind of getting sidelined again. But he at least gets the majority of the arc. I had fun with the new movie. There's definitely some issues. It is a little cheesier than the first movie, kind of more camp. But I think it's because they were trying to make it lighthearted and fun. Mm-hmm. It kind of plays up as almost like a buddy action comedy between Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa. And they are the heart of the movie, and they're hilarious to watch together. I think also this movie took a page out of like Guardians of the Galaxy and is trying to expand on the world of Atlantis and Underworld.
Yes.
We're very rarely in this movie in the normal world.
Correct.
So even on land, we're in these fantastical places. So it makes it feel less real and a little more sci-fi-ish, kind of Star Wars-y kind of universe, which I expect. That's what I was hoping for. Complete with him riding his seahorse, which I thought was awesome.
I just like, because, was it the first one? Maybe it was this one where he's like, and I like riding around on my seahorse. People may think it's silly, but it's not so.
This one where there's a little voice somewhere where he's like, people think it's cheesy, lame, or whatever, but I like him.
It's awesome. Because I can do this. He's like, jumping out of the water. I think Jason Momoa is just perfect in this. Perfectly.
He is. He's fun in this character.
It's just him. I feel like he's just having fun. It just seems like something he'd do.
He gets a little more depth moments of heft because he's playing a father and he's dealing with reconnecting with his brother. And so he's crazy and goofy, but he has moments where he actually kind of exposes some sensitivity and vulnerability, if you will. But they're few and far between because the movie's not heavy whatsoever. It's a full-on action spectacle. Yeah. Sci-fi fun.
Now, what about the controversy of Amber Heard?
See, here's my thing.
Dun, dun, dun.
They were talking about how she's lesser put in the movie. I thought it fit with the story.
I thought she was there often.
She's not there. She's a little bit in the beginning. She's kind of gone in the middle for a little bit, but then she's back up. And she's full on in the action and everything. So I didn't feel like
I thought she was there a lot.
If nothing had ever happened, I would have never thought once about how much her part was.
No.
Because it's just it's the difference between the first movie
and it was to the point where I was surprised she showed up so soon because I was like, I thought she wasn't in this movie. That's what she kept saying.
Well, the first movie was kind of her and him.
It was her and him,
and that kind of set up their romance and their relationship. The second movie is him and his brother.
Correct.
And so it's just like Orm wasn't in the movie that much in the first one. It's the same setup. It's just flipped. So I don't know how much, if any, was even altered.
With it. Yeah.
But I thought it worked fine. I love that Dolph Lundgren gets a lot more time this round around.
Cool. And this is funny, and this is probably bad to say, but there's a part where he's doing a voiceover section and giving some history, and you need to do this and blah 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 blah, and he's saying it. I'm like, I understand perfectly what he's saying. And like, has his accent gotten better?
Dolph Lundgren?
Has his accent gone away?
What accent are you talking about? From Rocky IV?
No.
It's not his real accent.
No, I know, but he has a little bit of an accent.
Yeah, because he's Swedish.
Yeah, so I'm like, man, it was so clear.
Yeah, his accent has mostly been gone for years.
Oh, okay. I guess you know why? Because I did watch Rocky IV last week. I watch it all the time.
His accent is
like must break you.
His accent is like anybody that's been in the U.S. for a long time. Where they'll be talking, you'll hear some sentence that pops in. But
you say that about me.
Yeah, very much so.
Goodness.
And you didn't ever live in another country, so.
Well, according to
little village,
I was in some little village.
Look, Aquaman's not perfect, but I think it's a fun flick. It's fun. I would definitely enjoy watching again. I think it serves best seeing on a big, gigantic screen.
And it's obviously a kids movie because all the kids were there.
Oh my God!
Running up and down the stairs, going, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, mommy," and I was like, "Shh."
I don't even know what that kid was saying. I could just hear him, and if I can hear him, there's a
problem.
That
kid got up 4 times.
They just kept. Well, they were letting him just walk in
bathroom,
back. They were just letting him walk back and forth on the aisle too.
It was not okay. Anyways, the most horrible thing ever.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is in theaters now. Go into it, just have a fun time with it. It's nothing overly excitable. It's nothing breaking new grounds or anything. There is a mid-credit scene that doesn't really have much of a point, but it's funny.
It's fun.
I enjoyed it.
All right, next. Ooh.
This next one was one of my
cool.
most anticipated this year that I've been really looking forward to, but you kind of can't help it as a Texan.
Fill up.
It's for the movie The Iron Claw. Da Craw. And if you're from Texas, you don't even need a definition of what this movie's about.
Or the claw. If you're in Texas, we grew up doing the claw all the time.
Yeah, if you live in Texas, you got clawed at some point by somebody.
And my brother used to do it.
It was either your parents, your brothers, your sister, your friends.
We all used to do it to
somebody
each other.
gave you the claw if you lived in Texas. But the Iron Claw is basically a movie about the iconic, famed Von Erich family, mostly from the viewpoint of Kevin Von Erich, who is the only living Von Erich left to their tragic story. And their family is a wrestling icon.
They're legendary.
Yeah, they're legendary.
They're from Texas, and so if you are from Texas like us,
they ruled wrestling in Texas.
That was it.
And
they were it.
Their wrestling legacy, the curse of their family, is probably the only thing that outshines the legacy of their wrestling career. Because it went from their dad, Fritz, who was super iconic, all the way through all the brothers. But the problem is that we didn't watch that this year.
We need to watch that.
We'll watch it tonight. I think it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
The biggest issue trying to tell this story is there's so much. Is how do you condense this story down? Tell the story of their wrestling careers and their history and the legacy and the all the stuff they've done, but then all the tragedy. There's so much of them. There's so many layers of it.
And all of it isn't even in this movie. There's an entire brother that's not even in here. And I think that would have just added more sadness.
Well, I did read a thing about it, and they were talking about he was in the script, and after he got the writer-director got the entire script done, he didn't need the approval of Kevin Von Erich. He could do anything he wanted. The movie was already being made. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
But he really wanted to talk to him. So he went to him and explained to him there was just trying to tell the movie in the time period you have and not just rush and say, oh, by the way, this one's dead too. And not have another death to constantly keep the movie as a downer and never be able to bring it up. There's also stuff like they completely omit Carrie's family. They omit Kevin's daughters that I think were before his sons, but they're so important to the sons have an important part for the finale of the film.
Because they show or it talks about in the movie like 4. He has like 6 kids.
Yeah. So they say in the thing that he has.
We don't know. I mean, it's not exact, but it's close.
It's Hollywood exact, but he said that when he explained this to Kevin said that makes total sense. So what they did is Chris, right?
Yeah.
I think it's Chris Von Erich. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris and Mike are kind of amalgamated into one person.
Into one.
So, because they basically lived kind of similar stories where they were both kind of forced into wrestling, that they didn't necessarily want to do that. They didn't necessarily not want to do it either, but they were kind of shoehorned because of the death of another brother.
You gotta take the place.
Yeah, so
you can't lose momentum.
That was the other thing he said, is as telling a story, it's kind of hard to tell the story when you're telling two people are almost the same story with the same issues, then it just becomes redundant.
But it's sad.
It is.
It's very sad, and
I was torn on the casting going into this too, because like Zac Efron plays Kevin Von Erich, and I wasn't against him playing Kevin Von Erich, but his initial look, he looked like he was built like Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
But then one of my friends who's a big wrestling fanatic, he told me, he's like, I went back and looked, and he goes, he was way bigger than I thought. So I went back and started looking at him, and I'm like, you're right, because I always saw Carrie as the big bulky one and Kevin as the lean. Well, no, I thought Kevin as the lean, muscular one. But he got pretty big at one point too, so it's fine, and Jeremy Allen White plays, hopefully I got his name right. He plays Carrie.
He looks good.
Yeah.
That hair.
Yeah, everybody's hair is horrible in this movie.
Oh, it's very.
But their hair were horrible in real life too.
Yeah.
Kevin still has the same hair. But what did you think of the movie?
I really enjoyed the movie. I think it's sad. I wish it had been 3 hours because I feel like knowing what we know, it's just scratching the surface. But I'm hoping that it would open people to going and researching and doing more research and just looking at their family history. They really were just so impactful into what we know as wrestling today. Like they started their own company, and the idea of the team ups and going to Japan and doing this here, like they did a lot of that at the beginning. They were doing a lot of that before all the others started doing it. And the dad was super instrumental in what wrestling looks like and making sure the techniques were smooth and who was this and who. I mean, it's just they were so instrumental into the history of wrestling.
I also liked
to know it.
That they didn't sugarcoat Fritz.
Oh,
Fritz was known for being.
He was not a nice person.
A hard guy, but I think he actually really loved his sons. I think he really cared for them. He was just. Business was first.
Business was always first. That's the problem, though.
Well, and even Kevin, I saw in an interview talk about it, he goes, this movie portrayed my dad pretty accurately. And he goes, and while a lot of people see this, a lot of stuff he says or does bad, he goes, go see any successful athlete and don't find a dad the same way. He goes, I'm not saying that justifies it, but that was normal for us. We didn't see it as a problem sometimes.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you grow up in the environment, you don't know that it's wrong.
I mean, my dad was extreme, but it was kind of the same way in my martial arts world. It was very much you get over it, you go to class, you do it a certain way. I don't care that you're sick. I don't care, you go, you do this. Oh, you're competing this way. Then you need to be trained. Well, I don't care if you want to hang out with your friends. You can It was very much get that. So I get it. And seeing that, I think the stuff that got me more than anything was like the nonchalant conversations about, there's one early in the movie when they're talking around the table and he's like, now you all know that Carrie's my favorite, then you, but the things can change. It's like, as a normal parent, normal household, you always never say which one's your favorite. We all have a favorite kid, but you never say who it is, and you never treat it like it's a bracket in a sporting event. but he
That's what he did.
made it very clear, like, you want to be the favorite, you got to work your way up the board and shift people around, So they were on this nonstop drive to please him more than anything else.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing that killed all of them.
Yeah.
Not directly, but some of them were, I think, were issues not being able to please and live up to him. Other people were of their own design and stuff, but I think they all had some mental issues.
Yeah, I'm sure they all did, and it was in a time period where you didn't do anything about it. You just ignored it.
Well, and they also talk about how they didn't say they loved each other. They didn't hug men. Men didn't do that. They were like,
Correct.
There's a great moment at the end of the movie where he's like, I'm sorry to his sons, and he's crying. He goes, I'm sorry. He's like, men aren't supposed to cry. And the kids, you see that different generation.
Yeah,
the kids like, it's okay to cry, Dad. We cry all the time.
Yeah.
And it brings that.
And then they all cry together. It's so sweet.
Yeah, it brings this calm and connection of him realizing he's breaking the cycle of what came before.
Yes. Oh, and his kids were so cute because they're like, why are you crying? He's like, because I don't have brothers anymore. And they're like, we'll be your brothers.
And they're both wrestlers now.
Yes, they are. They're very cool kids.
But I thought everybody's performances were fantastic. I thought this movie.
Man, that Zac Efron. You start off.
You're like that kid.
Yes, we start off in that little
High School Musical.
Oh my gosh! Like I'm tired of little.
We were so anti Zac Efron.
And then suddenly he did that one movie with that romantic. It wasn't romantic.
Like the baseball one.
I guess.
Where he's playing catch with his dead brother or whatever.
I don't know, but it was.
It was really good.
Oh my gosh! And I was crying up a storm. I was like, man, this kid can act. And then he goes on to do, what was that other one? Oh my gosh, every time I see him in something, I'm surprised. So good for you, High School Musical.
I've actually become a fan of Zac Efron, and I never.
Who knew? I guess he did.
I had to really bite my tongue a lot of times because I bashed that poor guy a lot early on.
You know what, Zac Efron?
His goofy, pretty boy mentality, but
But you know what? He
works his dedication.
Hard. Yes, he works hard for everything.
Yeah, I think he had probably 0% body fat in this movie. Like he is just ripped and insane and.
Like you were saying, his facial structure is like
changed
because he's always had that slim face, but now it's like so bulked up. This kid.
In Jeremy Allen White, who played Carrie, I was a fan of his from Shameless. And in Shameless, he's kind of this down and out. One of the brothers, this family, he's got that hit show, The Bear. But seeing him do something like this, like that fool is really good actor, man. And he just keeps getting better and better. And everybody was fantastic, and I think big props to them because if you can't get Fritz right, this doesn't work.
Correct.
Like you can make Kevin and Carrie work.
That's that guy?
I don't remember that guy's name, but he's been in a bunch of stuff.
Because I was like, he just looks.
He looks kind of like Fritz.
He did. He looked mean.
He's been in a lot of stuff, and I love that guy. But I was just surprised how well I believed he was Fritz.
Yes.
And can I tell you, I spent a lot of time at the Sportatorium.
Holt McClaney.
Have you ever been to the Sportatorium when it was open?
No, we moved here in the 90s and it was already closed. We drove by it.
So I've been there many a times, and man, it was creepy watching this movie and kind of seeing it and saying like it looked like it.
It did. That's what I was wondering. Like, did they refurbish it and build it back?
No, they said they shot it in I think it said it was a furniture store that they
they just painted
constituted it to make it look like the Sportatorium. So when they were doing their matches and stuff in the movie, they're wrestling in front of real people. Doing actual little matches.
God, how fun would that have been?
My only beef with this entire movie, I have one major issue, but it's an issue nobody can solve, is the casting of Ric Flair. And the problem is nobody can play Ric Flair. He is such an icon. He is such a specific look and feel and voice.
Sound. Yes, the voice.
Everybody can do the woo and everybody.
Woo!
Hey, honey, we're in a hotel. Be quiet. Everybody can does it, and we do an imitation, but nobody's Ric Flair. And the guy they get does a fine job, but you can tell it's not Ric Flair.
Yeah,
and kind of what I wish they'd done.
Ric Flair from that time period.
And I heard somebody else, a couple people mention this too, is I wish they'd paid the money to get that interview and play the actual interview, the shoot interview with Ric Flair, and then just not show the guy in the match, kind of just keep away from his face or whatever, or just show the guy that played him in the match as is. And I think it would have worked better because I remember watching that shoot interview. Yeah. And I've seen it numerous times since, and I'm watching it, and all I can say is that's not Ric Flair. But that's a minor issue because of you can't do anything about that. It's like watching that Young Rock show. There's Some of the casting is great, and some of them, there's just certain people you can't change.
Yeah, like you try to get as close as you can, but
yeah, I will say I thought they did a good job casting the Freebirds.
Yeah,
they didn't get a lot of dialogue, but they looked like them pretty good. Mm-hmm. And they had the strut, they had the Michael Hayes strut, and Terry Gordy. I love Terry Gordy. He was my favorite.
You know, and you just liked the Freebirds against the Von Erichs. Like that was just
that was it.
Everybody would show up to watch that. Like you made sure you had your TV on.
And I've seen them fight live.
Did you?
I have. I saw that Von Erichs and Freebirds fight live. I saw fucking Lance Von Erich. Lance Von Erich fight.
He wasn't in the Von Erich. We don't even know who he was.
Yeah, he was the guy they brought in when they started losing brothers. They think they needed another brother, so they brought in this other wrestler, and they called him a cousin and called him Lance Von Erich.
Whatever happened?
He wrestled for a little while, and then that didn't work, so he went away. He's in the movie, not the actual guy, but I think the wrestler is a guy's name MJF, I think it is. Mm. He plays Lance Von Erich, but he's not. He doesn't have any dialogue. If he is there, he's in the background. I never saw
Lance Von Erich. William Kevin Vaughn, retired wrestler, better known as Lance Von Erich.
Yeah, I remember I had a Lance Von Erich autograph.
Oh, goodness.
I had Bruiser Brody, the Dingo Warrior, who became the Ultimate Warrior, and Lance Von Erich, all from Time for Class, all from one of the Sportatorium events. And I remember finding out when the world found out he was never really a Von Erich. I think I had a blowgun at the time. I think I shot blowgun darts at him. I was so mad. Now I'm like, I wish I knew where those autographs were. Wow. Anyway.
Yeah, it's when Mike got sick. Remember when he was in that coma and all that?
They were trying to fill the gaps.
They got the.
I'm really hoping when this gets the official release that maybe there's some deleted scenes of Lance Von Erich or some of that stuff. It's such a minor thing, but it was not important, but a big moment in my
at that time
fan of being there. And the other stuff is like, my best friend's aunt was obsessed with wrestling, and she was there every weekend. And they even had her name was Ruthie. They even had this thing called the Ruthie Room, because she would get in trouble for hitting wrestlers and stuff. So they put her in the Ruthie Room to watch it from back there. And
oh my gosh, that's horrible.
I know, because I remember me and my friend being in there, and she was kicking Chris Adams. No, it wasn't Chris Adams. The guy that used to wrestle with Chris Adams. Anyway, she was kicking him when he got thrown out of the ring. And they grabbed like, Ruthie, you can't keep doing that. And they drag her out of the room. And they leave me and my friend. We can't be more than 10.
They left y'all there by yourselves.
Yeah, no, we were a little older than 10. But yeah, we're just sitting there. Like, what are we doing? Then they take us. They came and got us. Took us. And she's sitting there in front of a little TV in the back. And I remember seeing wrestlers talk to her sometimes. They come in and he's like, Ruthie, stop kicking me so hard all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And she's like, stop being an asshole, you know.
Oh my gosh. That's
when Percy Pringle used to be Percival Pringle III, who became pallbearer for the Undertaker, she used to scream Pussy Pringle at him. And I remember us sitting there, little kids sitting next to her, and she's like, screw you, Pussy Pringle. And he turned around and like yelled at us one day. He's like, sit down and shut up, old woman. And I'm just like,
yikes, y'all got in trouble.
And the Dingo Warrior, who became the Ultimate Warrior, he picked me up as he was coming down the aisle. I remember he was snatching me up in the air.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've always tried to find footage of any of those ring things. I'm sure it was like a house show, maybe not even televised.
Yeah.
To see if there's footage of me getting picked up somewhere, or if I could see Ruthie sitting on the front row somewhere. But
that's sweet.
I'm sure they probably kept her off camera.
Anyway, check out the Iron Claw.
It is fantastic.
And what is that show?
Oh, the Dark Side of the Ring.
Dark Side of the Ring. You get more information there. You should go check that out.
And I know there's some people that have issues with Dark Side of the Ring because they feel like that sometimes it's leaning towards one direction than the other. I didn't feel like it was, but I guess it's your opinion.
At least you find out some good information you didn't know before.
Yeah, if you watch this movie, then watch the Von Erich episode, it actually kind of helps fill in the stuff about Chris is in that episode and Kevin Von Erich's in that episode, so it's kind of interesting. Really good. Anyway, the Iron Claw is in theaters now and get a lot of Oscar buzz.
Okay. Oh, Rebel Moon. Part 1.
There's a Rebel Moon. Oh.
I forgot to add my thing I want to talk about. I'll talk about it in a minute.
All right, anyway. So the next one is the latest Netflix movie, Rebel Moon, from director Zack Snyder, ironically enough. Now, fun fact about this movie is this is an epic Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Yeah. That's what it's called. It is this big sci-fi epic, but it started out as a Star Wars pitch. It was back when the merger, when Disney bought Lucasfilm, if I remember correctly, that's when it happened. Zack Snyder pitched a Star Wars film that was going to be a little more adult Star Wars-ish, some new characters, some different things. I don't know what the exact, if it was an all-new story, if it was going to have connections to some of the other stuff, but they decided not to go with it. And he pitched the same movie to Warner Brothers a few times. They didn't decide to go with it. So finally, he retooled it himself. Netflix picked it up, and here we are with his own original franchise that has been getting a lot of buzz. People waiting for it, eager to see it. Both films are already shot. The second one comes out in April next year.
Okay.
They dropped the trailer for the second part 2 today. So, what do you think, man?
I liked it.
Did you get to finish it finally?
I did finish it finally on the plane.
Okay.
Ooh, it took me a while. I was just been busy. I liked it. It's really good, and I can understand or see how it could have been a Star Wars thing, but I'm glad it's its own thing. We get our own new world and planets and people and creatures and robots, and I like it. It's just, the story of the evil people trying to oppress the poor people, and the people like, we're not going to take it anymore. We're not gonna take it, and then they fight back, and I love that. It's a classic good against evil story.
It is. If you watch this movie knowing that this was originally a Star Wars pitch, you can see every element of the Star Wars stuff, and even some stuff that, like, there's one character, Nemesis, that has 2 swords that kind of glow like fire, but they look very much lightsabery. And then the bad guys are basically the Empire.
Yeah.
But they're more Nazi-ish.
They're Nazi evil.
I really dug this. I was really concerned, like I am with any sci-fi thing, is am I going to connect with the characters? Am I going to get invested enough to care? I like Star Trek. I like Star Wars. I love Star Wars. But I like Star Trek. I like a lot of these other stuff, but I don't ever get really invested in them as much as I have with the Star Wars universe. I'm still not invested with this one as much, but it's one movie. But I did find myself really digging, and it helped that I'm a fan of most of the cast.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
I love Sophia Boutella, however you say her name. I love her. I love Charlie Hunnam.
I like this guy.
Which one?
Dimyon
Honsu, or whatever it says.
Yeah.
I like Corey Stoll, who was the village leader guy with the ball.
Yeah.
I'm hit and miss with Ed Skrein, the bad guy. The bad guy with the kind of the buck teeth. Yeah. He's a great bad guy. He drives me nuts. He was in Deadpool. He was in a lot of different stuff, but I think he's great in this. He's a good bad guy.
Good bad guy. Good guy you don't like.
This is one of those movies that I think I wish it would have got a bigger big screen release. I think it would look great on these big IMAX screens and stuff like this. And supposedly, there's a longer director's cut coming next year too.
Why did they just put that?
That's what other people have said. They said it's almost a completely different movie, and then other people have said that too. Why not just release that?
Yeah, especially on Netflix when you can do whatever you want. You could even, if you're doing a part 1, you could do it in 3 parts.
Well, the thing is, and there's already discussions of expanding it further with some comic stuff, some other spin-off movies, like building an entire Netflix franchise.
Is this going to be like
it's something like Star Wars now?
Yeah, not a comic, but what's the other?
Graphic novel.
The graphic novel.
I think they're supposedly talking about doing stuff like that.
Because a lot of these characters, if we could get some background on some of the creatures and the robots, because like there's a really cool robot character, and you hear it talking, I'm like, is that Sir?
It is, Sir Anthony Hopkins.
But there's more to that because they mention a one line about these robots, and you're like, whoa, there's
the final shot with that robot is cool.
It was cool.
Because I'm going to tell you, but it's not going to make sense without context, but he's wearing antlers, and you're just like, that looks cool, man.
That's cool.
But you don't know, is he becoming part of the world? Is he becoming more animalistic? Is he reverting back? You don't know at that moment because that's the end of the movie. It just
looks cool.
He does. It's just a cool shot, and the effects in the movie are so well done.
They are done.
I will tell you, if you get super annoyed with Zack Snyder's slow motion stuff, you might get irritated because there's a lot of it here. But I thought it was well placed and well done. I'm a huge Zack Snyder fan, and I know most people were between Dawn of the Dead and 300, and Man of Steel was hit and miss. I don't understand why people don't love Sucker Punch. I love Sucker Punch.
I liked it.
It's
I think the ending was amazing.
Huh?
At the end too, it's amazing that last fight.
Yeah, that whole movie is just a love letter
Really
to nerds and geeks
Yeah.
and people like
I want to watch it
even
again
don't
now.
get. I don't want to watch it on the big screen again.
Okay.
So anyway, I really dug this movie. It's got some great action. It's got heart.
Really good.
It's got a lot of world building. It's about 2 hours, 2.5?
220.
Give or take. I don't think it's 3.
No, it's not 3.
So anyway,
It's fun.
I enjoyed it.
It's really good. You should check it. And it's on Netflix, so you can just go watch
sit
it.
down, chill out, and watch
Just
it.
go
So
watch
Rebel
it.
Moon is awesome. Can't wait to see more. I can't wait to see part 2, and hopefully it keeps doing well enough that we get some other chapters or spin-offs. Like, I'd like to see something maybe for each one of these characters. So some of these characters that are clearly not coming back from the second movie.
Yeah.
And I would love to see more of their story.
Because when you find out, when you get the reveal of exactly who everyone is, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
You're more than we thought you were.
Well, and did you notice? You may not have recognized him, but the guy that what are their names? The brother and sister, the black brother and sister that were from that tribe that were. The guy had the long dreadlocks.
Yes, the brother and sister. Yes.
Yeah, Blood Axe.
Blood Axe.
That guy is the guy that played Cyborg in Justice League. That's Ray Fisher.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, which he got through the whole fight because
I can tell because he has all this black war paint.
Yeah,
and
he's
big
the one that got through all the fight with Warner Brothers over them screwing him over and everything else, and nobody knew if he was going to work again. And Zack Snyder cast him
Good for him.
in this. So,
well,
anyway.
because there's a whole story with him and his sister.
That's what I'm saying. There's more there we can hear about those two.
Oh, that'd be great.
Charlie Hunnam plays kind of a Han Solo-like character.
And there's more to him too than we thought. So yeah, all of them should have their own little.
I like those little crates. They would open up and it would grab people and like strap them like spider walking, but they're prisoners at the same time.
Cool.
It was cool. I like that movie
a lot. It's really good.
Check out Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child on Fire, or A Child Setting Fires or something. Streaming now on Netflix.
Oh, The Boys on the Boat.
So now we're into the movies that actually open today.
Today on Christmas.
There's 2 big movies that open today. The first being The Boys in the Boat, directed by Jorge Clooney.
Oh, did Jorge Clooney?
Yeah, George Clooney directed.
How much does he direct?
He's directed a lot.
Is he now?
Yeah. He did Monuments Men, the one where the Nazis are stealing all the paintings and the soldiers trying to get them back.
That was a good one.
He's done, my Lord, he's done a pretty decent amount of stuff. I don't know why I don't remember him all of a sudden. But anyway,
that's okay.
Tell us what this one's about.
So this is based on the true story. It's a 1930 rowing club or team from the University of Washington who make their way to the 1936 Berlin Olympics, also known as the Nazi Olympics. It's the one where Hitler was there.
Nazi Olympics.
That's what people refer to it as, and it's the one that was very controversial at the time because a lot of Jewish people were not allowed to participate. It was dangerous potentially for black athletes to participate, and that's mentioned there. I also want to mention quickly, it is based on the book of the same name, so check out the book too to read more. But the movie is based on the book, and we get the narration of one of the guys from the team throughout the movie.
The movie follows one guy's journey.
Yes.
But you're really getting the team. And what I found interesting about this movie is it is a little bit of a slower paced movie. It's a talkie, as she likes to say.
But there's some good there's a lot of good rowing action.
It's surprising. Well, that was something else I was going to say before. We'll finish this thing and I'll tell you that. But it's really not just about the rowing and the performance stuff. It's really about people dealing with overcoming their station and their options in life and trying to find purpose in when they don't have a choice. Like this main guy isn't rowing because he loves rowing. He's rowing because he wanted a job.
He needs a job and they give him room and board.
Yeah, so he can pay for his school because he wants to be a chemical engineer. And
he has nowhere to live.
He lives in a car.
I mean, yeah, he's homeless essentially because this is at the end of the Great Depression as things are just barely starting to pick up and people are struggling, you know, and then this reminds me of like my grandmother telling the stories of the Great Depression and like you hustled, you had to do anything you could to make money, survive, and have food. And as the story of this one kid unfolds, you see wow, like how did he even survive that? Because he was homeless But it's not like he didn't have a family. That's the thing where I'm like, kill me now.
They just kind of abandoned
They just abandoned the poor kid. I'm like, man. But anyways, it's such a good movie.
But
it's
then
so inspirational.
But you also have the other side with the coach who's really trying to save this team, save this college, kind of redeem himself. And so even though it's still focused on this one guy mainly,
but
you get these little things of the team and they're bringing them together. And I would have never thought watching rowing would be exciting. I've watched rowing before and I'm like, this is so boring.
It is exciting.
But it was shot really well to where you get, even if you know the outcome, you still get invested. You're like, okay. And it's because of the cuts to the guy that's the lead that's given the commands and the way he's hitting the boat, and they cut it to show like the mechanics of the oars and the feet and there's so many things that it's almost like you're watching a NASCAR race, which are, I don't know why it's more exciting, maybe because there's an engine and not a bunch of guys doing this.
No,
but it's really well done.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
It's a great movie. It's not one that I think, I can see it. It's probably going to get Oscar buzz and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's as that top tier on some level, but I think it is an excellent movie. I think it's great performances, and I think it's a story that people should see, because I think one of the things that threw me off a little bit is that there were some of the trailers that were kind of leading the Olympic part of it seemed to be the bigger part of the story, and that there was going to be a bigger conflict of the U.S. and the Nazis thing, and it's there, but it's not what this movie is.
The U.S. was in first place in the time, so they should have been able to pick their lane.
Right.
But suddenly they're like, no, it doesn't matter, and they put them in the worst lane.
No, it's there, but it's a very small part of the movie.
Oh, and I love that they mentioned. Can we say?
Well, yeah, it's other.
They mentioned Jesse Owens.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, yes, because that's a whole other movie.
Yeah.
You need to go watch that movie too.
George Clooney should do the sequel with Jesse Owens and then meet that same moment.
Right.
That'd be cool if he shot that story.
The U.S. rowing team.
If he did that story and then shot that same sequence and connected, that'd be awesome.
Those Olympics were super controversial, and people like from Israel and some of the other countries that had a lot of Jewish athletes refused to participate, or they were just too scared to go. And some black athletes, like I said, it was a whole thing, man.
It's a great movie.
It's a really good movie.
Don't let the idea of rowing bore you. It's actually a really good movie.
Yes.
Boys in the Boat, open today, Christmas Day.
Yep.
In theaters.
And read the book. All right.
We
got one more. Actually, I want to talk about the other, but that's okay.
Oh, go ahead and talk about what you're going to talk about first.
Okay, well, let me, here's the problem. I don't have a slide.
Don't worry about it. Just talk about it.
Okay, I'm going to post a link I'll post a link
to the chat. Don't worry about a link.
Doesn't matter.
Just talk.
But then you're not going to know what movie I'm talking about without a poster. Okay, so the movie I want to talk about is Society of the Snow. It opened Friday and limited release. So look for it in theaters near you. I know the landmark theaters in the U.S. are carrying it in limited release. It is coming to Netflix soon in a few weeks.
And if she does her job, we'll have an official review soon.
Yes, I will do. I'll put here's this one. I'll post the whole review and do a thing about it. Anyway, so basically, this is a new version of the story. This is based on the new book, Society of the Snow, which is based on the previous book, Alive, which is also based on the previous book, one of the books that Nando wrote, who's one of the survivors. So basically...
Of what? You never did tell what it is.
Basically, it's the story of...
You're like, a book, but never the book. Go ahead.
Basically, there was a plane crash in the Andes Mountains, okay, you guys? And it's the story of these poor guys that are just trying to survive. They crashed in 1972 in the mountain range itself. 29 people survived the crash, and now they have to figure out a way to survive until help comes.
These people are eating each other, right?
Yes. Wow. That's not what we want to say, but yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying that's what happened. They were eating each other to survive, right?
Yes, but we're not that's not how you tell the story, babe.
Well, I'm not trying to tell the story. I'm trying to confirm what the story is.
Yes. Okay, so basically.
I've seen Alive.
Okay, if you've seen the movie Alive, read the book, It's basically a retelling of that story, but to me, it's more than that. It is a story of survival in extreme conditions.
Let me ask you this, because you know Nando.
Yes. I'll post a picture.
His name is Fernando, isn't it?
Fernando.
Okay. I was looking him up one time when y'all first met, and I was trying to look him in the story. I was like, there's nothing about this guy in the story. And I wasn't connecting Nando as just half of Fernando.
Yeah, Fernando.
I'm like, I think he's lying to these people. I don't think he was ever part of this. He somehow created an entire career on a lie.
Wow.
It's like the guy that said he was a biker scout for Star Wars, did conventions for years, and he was never in Star Wars. Have you not heard about that?
No.
Oh, yeah. There was this guy who he went around and said he was a biker scout in Return of the Jedi. Something Lightfoot, something was a white guy with an Indian name. He did conventions for years.
Oh my gosh.
And then somebody came out finally, like, we've never met him. He's never been on set. And I think even Lucasfilm finally said he was never in Return of the Jedi.
Oh no.
And so he lived for years doing conventions. It was a whole thing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna do a whole separate post just on this.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna do a post about it. Anyway.
So do you feel like well, maybe even talking to Nando, does this movie more accurately portray, and I'm not talking about stylized, more accurately portray the story than Say Like Alive, or is it about the same structure?
I think it's a little bit more historically accurate. Now, looking back, people will say that Alive is a little bit whitewashed because it was
It's Ethan Hawke.
It's Ethan Hawke and a bunch.
Not that Ethan Hawke is a problem.
A bunch of English-speaking actors doing a movie.
Because it was inspired by true events instead of based on the true
in Uruguay. Yeah. So this is actually a lot of Uruguayan and Spanish actors doing it. It's completely in Spanish, so don't be like, I don't read subtitles. You're gonna read subtitles because this is a movie you need to watch.
It's directed by J.A. Boyona.
Yes.
Who did one of the Jurassic World movies. He did The Orphanage. He's done a lot of
He's done a lot of really good stuff, and I appreciate that it's a Spanish production because, like I've mentioned, we've talked about it before. To me, foreign productions, they push the boundaries a little bit. And, sometimes we'll watch a movie and we're like, oh, I wish they would have just went a little bit further. These people go further. They show everything. It's a little bit graphic at times because they do have to survive. And the only thing there is to eat are, unfortunately, the bodies of their dead friends. And, at a certain point, hold on.
Bless you.
Now I'm going to sneeze. One of the guys is like, I give you permission if I die. Just, do what you have to do, so they slowly go. But what I like that we don't really hear about, but you see a little bit, you read a little bit in the book, and when you talk to Nando, he talks about it, is the turmoil that they felt having to do this because these were their friends. It's not something like, hey, I'm just going to go cannibalize somebody just to survive. It was deeply traumatic. It really affected them. There was one guy in the movie who just refused until the very, very end. But, at the end, you have no choice if you're dying. And that, to the point it's like, we want you to make it. Come on, let's do this. And then, in a way, you look at, there were these two guys that they took care of that so that nobody knew who was who, what they were eating. They're just like, hey, here's some chicken.
Nando's sister was on there too, right?
His sister and his mom.
That's right.
And you see in the movie at one point, so Nando and one of his friends are the ones that are like, we're going to get out of here. Like, we're just going to climb the mountain because on the other side of the mountain, Chili's going to be there. We're going to see the town. We'll get help. And, right when he leaves, he's like, if you need to, I give you permission for my mom and my sister. But they never actually did.
Yeah.
So, and it's crazy because when
you when they give permission to eat his mom and sister? Okay.
Yeah, when he left, he's like, whatever you need to, I will be back, And when you get to the top of the mountain and you see there is not a city there, it's just more mountains. Yeah. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Did they put the line in there? Because I know there's a famous statement he made that something like, if he was going to die, he was going to die walking.
Yes.
Is that line in the movie?
Yes, I think
so. Cool.
But the thing,
I know things about this story.
The thing though is I've seen Nando speak like 2 or 3 times telling the story, and it is impactful every time. So knowing the story and watching the movie, I was just like, yeah.
Well, he was the technical advisor on Alive as well.
Yeah, he was there.
Ethan Hawke played him, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was there, and he's in this movie for like that quick.
Playing.
And I saw him like, no.
Well, I think there's a couple of people. Because
yes.
one of the other guys, one of the other real life guys, plays the father of himself.
Dad. Yeah.
He plays his.
And one of the other guys plays a doctor. When his person's there, the person playing him is there. He's a doctor in the background. Gotcha. So a couple of the guys are in it, and it's I can't even tell you. You've just got to see the movie and then call me, and I'll tell you everything I know about it. Because I've asked him so many questions, like, how did you feel about that? What did you think? You know, and it comes up in the movie, like.
Did they ever ask him what femur tastes like?
No, but, you know, at some point it's like, these people have PTSD. And it's like, yes, because one person, after many, many, many years later, became addicted to drugs because it was so traumatic.
This is a stupid question. But are a lot of them vegetarians now?
No.
No,
I don't think.
Because I could see that being like, I can never eat meat again because of the context of what they're eating. You know what I mean?
So this is the thing. So we've asked him.
I know it sounds like a stupid question.
Did he have PTSD? Did others? He said yes. Some of the others have PTSD. He's like, I didn't. He goes, at some point you have to shut off your mind, your brain, your conscience, your emotions, and be like, I am here right now. I have to survive. Yeah. He's like, once I got out, he's like, I forgot that. He's like, I had to just let that part of me go. He goes, at some point, when you are fighting for your life, it becomes animal instinct. Are you going to live or die? Yeah. That's it. He goes, and there's a whole conversation in the movie of like, is God going to forgive us? Are we going to make it to heaven if we do die because of this that I just did? But, you know, they said a lot of them afterwards, they went to the church, like the church in general, like, and to get forgiven and, you know, all these things and confess. And it became a whole big ordeal. And then once the people that did survive, they're like relieved of it. But then the press brought it up and it became this whole cannibalism thing. Yeah. And he's like, that to me, he goes, it's just such a small story. It was survival. The big story is that we made it out. Yeah. People forgot about us. They stopped the search. They left them there and didn't come back until the summer season.
Are you crying?
Yes, I'm going to cry. But
it was a bunch of white people in the plane crash. You wouldn't cry.
No. But no, I mean, it's an amazing story that if you go also, you need to watch the documentary. And this is the one where the National Geographic climbers went to this climb spot and they did the climb with all their gear. And one of the guys broke his wrist trying to do that climb. Yeah. And they're asking Nando, how did you do it? He's like, I had no choice. I was going to die. You know, these other people, they're doing it because they're professional climbers. Let's see if we can do it. He's like, no, they had no equipment. They had nothing. And they did it to survive. Oh, my gosh.
Well, Society of the Snow is in theaters now, and it will be hitting Netflix, I think, in the next week or two.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it then.
Yeah, because I'm going to watch it. I didn't get to go to the screening.
It's so good, you guys.
Anyway, so let's get our last movie because we're running out of time. And then we have a reservation.
We have to do a reservation.
At what, 7?
7:30.
7:30?
Yes, I have time to go shopping.
So the other movie that came out today
is
Ferrari, the Michael Mann movie.
Who's Michael Mann?
Michael Mann is a director. He did movie. He did. Oh my God.
If I hadn't asked you, you would have told me.
Yes, when I was writing the review, I just turned them all out. He did Collateral with Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx.
That's a long while ago. I remember
that. What's nothing?
Ferrari. Now, here's the thing you need to know about Ferrari. We watched it, and everyone has a very thick Italian accent, and there were no subtitles. And Bobby's like, "What are they saying? What are they saying?"
Keep yelling.
Because that's what you kept saying.
I know, but you don't need yelling.
I'm sorry.
No, it's my hearing problem is the issue, and because it was for your consideration screening, there wasn't any subtitle options. And even turning up loud, it wasn't helping. And then you have Penelope Cruz, who already has an accent, and then she's putting on a different accent. I don't understand what the hell that woman was saying. I don't understand what that woman was saying in normal movies.
Yeah, you're not a fan. He's not a fan of Penelope Cruz.
But anyway, he did Ali, he did The Insider, he did Last of the Mohicans. He's done a lot of stuff. Anyway, so what's interesting about this movie is, so first a little context of the movie itself. Michael Mann's been trying to make this movie for years. And I think I was telling you that they were saying this is one of the only movies written by somebody who died. Troy Kennedy Martin, who wrote this movie, died in 2009. That's how long they've been trying to make this movie. And Michael Mann, originally Christian Bale was going to star in this movie. It was a big budget release. And in the midst of the story, he did say in an interview, which I found interesting, he said that long-form biopic films belong on the History Channel. He goes, if you're doing a feature film, you don't need to be dragging it out for 3-4 hours. Because you got to condense the story. If you want to tell those long stories, go to the History Channel, make a long documentary, make a multi-part series. And I kind of agree with him because it's like talking about the Iron Claw. You have to condense a lot of the story, and it's going to make people mad that are invested and lose certain things. So I was thinking when you're hearing all that, I'm like, oh, he's just trying to defend the fact that Ferrari's going to have a ton of stuff that's not there, because that's a lot of story of building their cup factory and the histories and his race career, and then all the stuff that this movie is only like one portion late in his life that I thought was going to be like, we're not going to get anything, but it's handled so smartly that you're getting through the trials and tribulations that they're going through with his personal life and the company and the history of where it's going and where things are going to go. You kind of understand the past. And I thought it was really, really well done.
It was. It is a talkie. I'm just going to tell you that.
It is very slow.
With some races in between.
Yeah.
And to me, because of the time period when those race cars were just not safe.
Not at all.
I mean, the ones now are a little bit more
safe. Those were those open race cars, so there was like nothing holding you in.
People are flying out. Yeah. It was scary. This one's more about the drama of his personal life, and it's sad. Him and Penelope Cruz, and then him and
it's all stuff by his own making, because he kind of he was in an unhappy relationship. Instead of ending it, he has a whole nother relationship, and he's got his current wife, Penelope Cruz. She's a very strong, I'm not taking your shit woman. She's willing to tolerate his nonsense, but don't disrespect her.
Correct.
Kind of thing. On the other side, you have Shailene Woodley, who's a little more sensitive, a little more loving and caring, but she's also not going to tolerate his nonsense. Mm-hmm. And then in the middle, you've got this Enzo Ferrari, who is very uncaring, very stoic, very driven by his one thing with his cars. But then he periodically shows these signs of vulnerability with his son and with both ladies, But you never feel sorry for him, and you kind of feel like this dude's a douche. But then at the same time, you're like, but I also understand his situation. He's in this partnership that's not only just a marriage, but a business partnership. But he wants this life, but he can't get rid of either.
Correct. He's stuck. I'm going to say Adam Driver was really cool.
You what?
Adam Driver was really cool in this.
Excellent in this movie.
It didn't even look like him.
Yeah.
In his ears. It didn't look like him.
His ears.
Because that's his telltale thing.
He's had a couple of performances that, in my opinion, that were really strong, but this one I think is one of, if not his best.
It's really good, guys.
Forget his Kylo Ren stuff. I think he's fine in that, but he's done some really good movies. He was good in
that Marriage Story.
Yeah, the movie you don't like?
Yes, yeah. I don't like it, but he was good.
He did this movie. I don't think you ever saw it. Hold on.
What's her name made me mad. I was on his side. But he was so good in that. He's really good in this too.
Well, let me tell you this. A movie I would suggest everybody. Such a great movie.
Okay.
That he did. It was kind of a smaller movie. White Noise he did was really good.
Oh.
Where is the movie? Where is it? You can keep talking if you want.
Anyways, it's a good movie.
Patterson. Patterson's an excellent movie about a guy that's a writer. It's just such a small movie. But
okay.
So good.
Okay, I remember you telling me about that. Anyways.
It's very well crafted. I think if there's any issue, and I've heard people talk about this, is some of the CGI used for some of the car accidents is a little hokey, but I get they were trying to show the dangers of how racing was back then. Because there's a scene in the movie that you don't expect them to show.
I was like, whoa.
That was a real thing.
Whoa.
And it's a
little graphic.
Graphic, if you will. Not horror level graphic, but it is very graphic. It's not the kind of thing you expect in this kind of movie.
Right.
And the effects used to do it is a little hokey, but this is also a lower budget movie. But it gets that point across because it kind of shocks you. You're like,
because I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
And then they show more, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but it's again, it is slow. It is kind of, let's move it along. Come on, at times.
Yeah.
But it's also very interesting to figure out where all these people are going to deal with their lives and go, and
really
what betrayal is going to, who's going to screw over who, and and at the end of the day, it's just this one portion of this guy's life that I'm like, I can't imagine what else he could have been going through with just that intensity in that small amount of time.
Yeah. So anyways, check it out.
It's another one that's getting a lot of Oscar buzz. So
I hope he wins something.
I don't know if I agree with the entire movie being nominated, but I do definitely agree he deserved to get nominated for something.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. CGI special effects should not be nominated for this. But Ferrari's available in theaters now.
And that's it.
On Christmas Day.
On Christmas Day.
We don't really have anything we're going to promote for the next weeks or whatever, because there's not a lot coming out this weekend.
No, not really. I mean, so just this week, coming out this week for Christmas, The Boys in the Boat, Ferrari, The Color Purple, the musical version. And
we may try to go see that, talk about next week, just a comparison.
Yeah. That's kind of it, guys. There's not a whole lot coming out.
Well, we'll probably do it if we end up having a show next week, because if we don't have anything to talk about, we may not have a show. But what we do need to talk about is our best favorites of the year stuff. So we'll be leading into the favorites.
No, that means I got to go through the entire year.
That's right. So I'm sure there's a few things that we haven't got to see. Like, you haven't seen The Holdovers yet.
Yeah.
We may try to watch some of the Oscar buzz movies. And talk about them.
Next week or whenever next, I'll talk about the movie Eileen, starring Anne Hathaway. It's interesting.
Cool.
We'll talk about Society of Snow Properly. There's a couple of movies I want to see that.
How much more properly can you talk about Society of Snow? You did a whole spiel on it.
Guys, you just got to watch it.
Anyway. That's pretty much it. We're going to go back to our vacation and Christmas.
Peace be with you.
I know that y'all are already done with Christmas because you got up this morning,
Christmas.
but hopefully everybody had a wonderful Christmas. And if you don't do Christmas, just have a wonderful time off with your family and hang out.
Happy holiday, man.
Peace out, dogs.
Peace be with you, my friends. We'll see you later.
And if they offer you one of these chocolates, don't take it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.